Manchester United have been scouting Norwegian wonder kid Nypan ahead of a 2025 move for the talented youngster. Predicted lineup emerges for tonight's game against Barnsley. Amad is set for new contract talks, injury updates, and more. All this plus all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. And let's jump straight into it. So, obviously, game tonight against Barnsley, or might have already played it by the time you're watching this video. There's been a lot of reports and noise and everything like that regarding the team selection for tonight. And I kind of found this one, and this is the team that I would personally go with if it was me. This came from the Standard, where they're saying their predicted lineup versus Barnsley is Bayindir, Diallo, Maguire, Evans, Amas, Casemiro, Ugarte, Collier, Anthony, Xerxes, and Garnacho. And I can get behind that team because obviously it gives your fringe players some minutes in their legs, which will be important if we do pick up injuries. And for squad rotation, you want your kind of bench players to be as sharp as possible. Bayindir hasn't started a game since last season. Ugarte getting some minutes in his legs as well, making his kind of full home debut. Anthony needs minutes, not played for a while. Garnacho deserves a start, I think, as well, with his kind of substitute performances, and Xerxes still finding that kind of match sharpness, I think. So I could get behind that team. My only concern is that Ten Hag's kind of comments in his press conferences stuff was basically saying that he's got a lot of new players and new signings coming in that haven't had a pre-season with the squad. And because of the amount of games, they're not really training in between games because it's just a lot of recovery. So I get that's the team that I would go for from all the ones that I've the predicted ones that I've seen online. But I get the feeling he's going to go a little bit stronger. I get the feeling he's going to play a few. There'll be a few surprises because from what he was saying in his press conferences, the only way to get the match rhythm and get the routines with his players and new signings is by playing games at the moment, because they can't train in between games because we're literally playing every 3 days for the next 3-4 weeks, I think it is. So I get the feeling he might go a bit stronger, but that would be my predicted lineup from all the ones that I've kind of seen online. Let me know yours in the comments, or let me know if you agree with that as well down below. Let's go through some injury updates. So Ten Hag confirmed that De Ligt, Martinez and Mazraoui will all be available for, it says tomorrow, but tonight, despite coming off against Southampton. Apparently it was just cramp or precautionary. Martinez obviously not really played that many games last season with him being injured. Went to Argentina, flew back, late flight, long flight. So apparently that was just precautionary, bringing him off. Mazraoui, again, has not played that many pre-season minutes for Bayern Munich, although he's played more than De Ligt. De Ligt, after the game, said it's a bit of cramp. Nothing serious, because he just hasn't played that many games in a row for a very long time. Obviously, didn't get picked for Holland in the Euros, so he said it was just precautionary as well. Ten Hag also did confirm that Shaw, Haaland and Mount are still out, specifically when it comes to, in fact, we've got an update on Mount in a second, but when specifically asked about Luke Shaw, Ten Hag said Shaw is progressing, but not yet ready to be selected. He's progressing well, of course. We have a plan in our head when he can be ready, but you're always dependent on how the progress will go, and you can't make a suggestion because there are so many factors. A plan can accelerate or slow down. So Ten Hag saying he doesn't actually know where he thinks he knows when Luke Shaw would be back. They penciled him in for a period, but obviously depending on if his injury if he picks up another injury or if he recovers quicker. The whole Luke Shaw thing is just really annoying me at the moment. The more I think about it, the more annoyed I am with Luke Shaw. Hasn't played for United since February, which is insane, isn't it? That he hasn't played for us, considering the fact that he went to the Euros and played, obviously, what was it, like a game and a half or something for England in the Euros. It's just really annoying, really frustrated me at that, as the more I think about it, the more annoyed I get about it as well. But, I agree with all the recent reports and comments regarding Luke Shaw about it being his last chance. If he can't stay consistently fit, then we should be looking to bin him off. In my opinion, it's absolutely pointless having a player like that you just cannot rely on. And unfortunately for Luke Shaw, I think because of that early leg break he got in his career, this is just him. He's just going to have all these, like he's had major surgery on his and he broke his leg. And I think that sometimes when you do that, your body compensates another way because you're not quite right or you're not quite the same again. And I think his body is just like that now, where he's just going to pick up little niggly injuries all the time. And we've seen it, do you know what I mean, over the last few years. And I don't think that's going to get better the older he gets. If anything, it's going to get worse. So really annoying, the Luke Shaw situation. So, but then there was some positive news, though, that came out after the press conference regarding Mason Mount. So this came from Steve Railson, who's a correspondent for the Manchester Evening News, so fairly credible, saying that Mason Mount has returned to Manchester United's first team training and could return to the pitch sooner than expected. So Mason Mount back in full training, according to the Manchester Evening News, which is a positive. But actually, it poses like a really weird question, that, doesn't it, Mason Mount? Like, where does he got Xerxes fit? Højlund might be coming back soon. You know, Ugarte's going to play in the midfield, hopefully. Mainu's, you know, I think he's had a good start to the season. If you look at his stats, I seen one yesterday. It's like he's got the most interceptions in Europe for this season. So I think he's kind of quietly going about his business quite nicely, although not outstanding yet. I don't think he's quite fully match sharp or match fit yet, but still doing bits in midfield. Like, where does Mount actually fit into this team? Is he a bench player, do you think? Is he, you know, rotation option, someone to bring off certain games? Because that's where I see his position, which is weird that we paid that amount of money for Mount when really I can't see a place for him in the team. I mean, some of you might replace him with Bruno. That's not a bad shout, but Bruno's club captain. He's our highest paid player now, so you're not gonna give Bruno a new contract and then bench him for Mason Mount. That's for sure. So it's a really weird situation, the Mount signing, especially considering he's got the number 7 shirt and he's on, you know, 250 grand a week, I think it was, when I bought you the wages. And was it last week? There was a leaked report about the player wages. So he's on an absolute fortune for what I think is just a rotation option, personally. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know where you see Mason Mount fitting into the team. Right, let's move on to some transfer news. So this is coming out from Give Me Sport. Give Me Sport are one of these outlets that have got credible journalists and not so credible journalists. This came from one of their more credible journalists, saying that Manchester United have put plans in place to continue keeping tabs on highly rated Rosenborg star via Nypan over the course of the season before potentially presenting the teenager with a chance to complete a move to Old Trafford in 2025. Give Me Sports sources have been informed that Nypan has been on Manchester United's radar for over the past year, coinciding with academy graduate Kobbie Mainoo's rise, and they are eager to continue monitoring his progress after he has become one of the first names on the team sheet for Rosenborg, despite still being in the early stages of his career. Now, Nypan, he's definitely a player of interest. Like, he's a player that we've been linked with about 3 or 4 times now. I remember bringing a video a couple of weeks ago, actually at the end of the transfer window, where there was rumours of us going in for him potentially in January. And Give Me Sport, as I mentioned, they are kind of a hitty-missy kind of outlet, but Dean Jones is one of their more credible journalists. But then this report came out from what I believe is a credible Norwegian outlet. Now, I don't know the credibility personally, but this was reposted and retweeted by some very credible sources. So I kind of think it holds a bit of weight, where they were saying that Manchester United and Bayern Leverkusen scouts were in attendance for Rosenborg's game against Lillestrøm yesterday, most likely to watch Nypan. And again, that's from a more credible outlet, but there's 2 kind of, I'm going to say, decent sources. You know, they're not Romanos or they're not Ornsteins, all kind of confirming that United's interest in Nypan. And again, it's not the first time we've been linked with him. He's definitely a player of interest, in my opinion. 17 years old, 20 league appearances, 5 goals, 6 assists. He's a central midfielder, but more of like an 8, like a box-to-box type midfielder. Fits the mould exactly of being a young, up-and-coming player. developmental. That's what Ineos are looking for, these kind of hidden gems or these unknown kind of players like Kone, for example, where we're looking to bring them in for a relatively low price, develop them at Old Trafford. There's definitely no smoke without fire. There's definitely no smoke without fire when it comes to him. So I do think that he is definitely a player of interest. Man United fan as well, apparently done a previous interview saying that it was his dream to move to Manchester United. Very highly rated player. Seen reports like Next Star and Hidden Gem and all these kind of reports around him. I've actually been doing a lot of research around a few young players that we've been linked with, because I wanted to do a video around like the future stars that potentially United are looking for. Because obviously we heard reports that United are looking to bring in these sort of players, and they're allocating budgets now as well in their transfer budgets to go out and actually go and get these young stars that I brought you in yesterday's video. So I've been watching a few of his highlights and stuff. There's very little data out there on him because he doesn't play in the top 5 leagues, and obviously he's only 17, so there's not that much data to kind of compare to others for him. And it is really difficult to judge a player off of highlights alone, because Marouane Fellaini's highlight reel would probably look unreal. So I don't kind of like to judge a player fully on that, but it does look really good. I like he. Good vision, good passing, looks quite kind of, silky in midfield as well. So really exciting prospect. Definitely could be a future star. Would definitely be a yes from me. And again, we'll keep an eye on it for you. Bring you any updates, but let me know what you think in the comments. Because if you've watched him or you know more about him, let me know. I'll bow down to your kind of knowledge on it. But from what I've seen and researched and looked into, not just for this video, I've been doing some bits behind the scenes for future videos and stuff. I like him. I think he looks a really, really promising player, but you can let me know if you agree or if you disagree in the comments. Now, the next story I've got for you is regarding the man of the moment, Amad. Manchester United are expected to offer Amad a new long-term contract in the coming months. If a renewal is not agreed before the end of New Year, then United will trigger the extension to prevent Amad's representatives from negotiating pre-contracts with overseas clubs in January. So that came from Samuel Lucas, who's effectively saying that Manchester United are looking to negotiate a new contract with Amad, which is good. If they don't know, they still have a +1 option on his contract, so I don't think they're in a massive rush to do that. But if they can't get a new deal done by January, they'll trigger the 1+1 year to stop him from being able to talk to other clubs, because he is effectively at the moment in the last 12 months of his contracts if we don't trigger the +1. So that's good. Gives us a bit of time to negotiate, gives us a little bit of time as well to see how his form continues and all those bits as well. So that's good. And then this was interesting again from Samuel Lucas, saying that Murta was privately a vocal champion of Amad. During his pre-season long loan at Sunderland, Murta told a confidant all Amad needed was a run of 10 starts to exhibit his qualities, and Amad struck 6 goals in his first 10 consecutive starts. So John Murta, probably one of the only things he got right while he was in charge of our recruitment and bits as well. Amad saying that he needed a run of 10 games and you'll see what he's all about, and he scored 6 goals in his first 10 games for Sunderland, which is fair enough. And I Amad for me signed as a young player, a lot of pressure, played for the reserves, obviously made a handful of first team appearances as well, was kind of being introduced then, done the right thing, went out on loan for a season at Sunderland, absolutely bossed it in the Championship, was Sunderland's player of the year, come back, been patient, and now he's got his opportunity. He's been outstanding for me so far this season. I know it's only 4 games, right? So I'm not getting carried away just yet, but you can only judge a player on what they're doing at the time you're judging them. And for me, I think he's been outstanding so far this season. Do I think he deserves a new contract? Yes, definitely. I think he's a player that could, if he carries on this way, then he's got a really exciting future ahead of him. He's only on 30 grand a week currently as well, so I don't think a new contract would be, stupid. I mean, Garnacho's on 50 grand a week, I think it is. Hoyland's on around 85, so I'd imagine somewhere maybe between those. But yeah, I'm all for Amad locking him down, getting him on a new contract, and he's definitely got, like, he deserves this opportunity for me, and he's taken it with both hands, in my opinion. And the stats kind of back that up as well. So Amad ranks first among Manchester United players in the Premier League this season in penalty area touches, shot creation, creating actions, chances created, passes into the box, and final third tackles. So Amad is the best, like number one in those metrics is for any Man United player so far this season. So rightly deserved for me a new contract. Let me know if you agree or if you disagree with that in the comments. Obviously, the player that he's keeping out of the team at the moment, thankfully, is Anthony. Ten Hag had a couple of bits to say regarding him in the press conference. So when asked directly about Anthony, he said, "We have training every day, and the players have to earn the right to play. When the attitude is good and they show the right performance in training, then they will earn the right to play." And then in the embargoed part of his press conference, he also said the other players are doing very well. We have Amad, Garnacho, who are very effective. Rashford scored this weekend. He has to perform in training, but the others are doing very well. So he has to get ahead of them. Now, that's caused a bit of a stir online. There's loads of reports now about Ten Hag falling out with Anthony and questioning his attitude and stuff. And I don't know if it's as deep as that, personally. I've heard some people saying it's a sly dig at Sancho. Now he's not here, saying, well, it's about his attitude and bits as well. But again, I don't know if it's as deep as that. I think effectively what Ten Hag was saying was that, look, we've got Amad, or we've got Garnacho, and we've got Rashford, who are training well. And for you to get in the first team, you've got to be better than them. You've got to be training better than them. You've got to be performing better than them as well. And that's the absolutely right thing to be doing at Manchester United. But if we shouldn't be picking players just because of price tags and wages and all this kind of stuff, right? It should just be, well, who's trained the best this week and who's performing on the pitch. And at the moment, Amad, Rashford, and Garnacho are just ahead of Anthony because, when was the last time he had a good performance? Was it, was it Chelsea? Maybe last season, even though we lost. Was it the one we lost where he had that kind of good assist, one of his only assists with the outside of his boot? That's probably the last time I can think Anthony had a decent game. So rightly so, in my opinion. So I don't know if it's as deep as what it's being made out to be, that they've fallen out or anything. I mean, maybe they have. I'm not in amongst the dressing rooms as well, but I'm not sure it's quite as deep as that, or if he's just saying, well, when the player's attitude's right and they're training well, then they'll be selected. And if it's not, then they won't. And, I have no issues with that whatsoever. But let me know what you think about that in the comments, and let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video. I do enjoy reading them. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next one.